Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bharat3's peak series of insurance webinars. Bharat3, being a well-placed insurance broker, has been at the front end in providing knowledge and inputs to our customers. Being a corporate-focused insurance broker, we've been quite keen to share our experience of having handled hundreds of corporates across the spectrum, micro customers, SME, mid-cap and large corporates. And we built this experience by handling both insurance placement and insurance claims. In the past few months during COVID lockdown, we held various sessions to share this experience by way of webinars and meetings. And we have also shared our sessions on insurance products. And in the past few weeks, 2 sessions have happened on sharing information about challenges in corporate insurance claims. Today, we are meeting an expert on a very niche topic. Bharat3's philosophy being a discussion on risk will always benefit corporates before a discussion on insurance. And to this end, we have started our fireside chat, being discussions one-to-one with experts from various fields. This is the first session of our fireside chat series. We'll be discussing about cyber risk. On your behalf, I welcome Mr. M. Navanithan. Welcome, Mr. Navanithan.
Thanks, Arun. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Pleasure and honor to be part of discussion.
Thank you for sparing this hour, Mr. Navanithan. An introduction about Mr. Navanithan. Mr. Navanithan has spent decades in this cyber security and information security space. He is currently Chief Information Security Officer and IT head for a company in the BFSI sector. Mr. Navanithan has held roles in different dimensions of security in the past. He has worked for global MNCs and he has advised corporates. He is also very keen to share this rich knowledge with the markets. He is in the subcommittee of NASSCOM. He always addresses cyber security and information security events across the country. He is an invited speaker in various forums, including forums of CISOs, which is Chief Information Security Officers. We are very honored and happy to have Mr. Navanithan to share his rich experience from the viewpoint of what can be a risk for a corporate in terms of their cyber infrastructure. I'm very happy to have this fireside chat with Mr. Navanithan in the next 45 minutes. I welcome our participants to share their questions on the chat window, and I'll be happy to share those questions with Mr. Navanithan. Let's get into the session. Mr. Navanithan, I'm very happy to initiate this session with my first question. Please share in brief about your journey in the security industry, in the cyber security or information security industry.
Amazing. Always it's pleasure, right, to what we got it from the industry and then giving back to industry. So moreover, the 2 decades where we are in the industry, where we learn a lot from the leaders as well as the different sectors. So moreover, the people used to say is CISO is it's a top positions in terms of to have a regulations as well as to enforce the controls across the industry. So moreover, we had a target on the CISO's position as a milestone. Maybe I can say is 18, 19 years back. Even there is no the separate position over there, but there is head of IT is ruling the end to end. In terms of my journey, I have been into different systems. Like I was handling in terms of the Linux. I was doing the scripting. I was taking care of the network. Of course, I was taking care of overall the applications and then overall the architecture. Just we have get into the each system. It's not only just directly getting to the compliance, directly getting into the CISO positions. Always, if you have the multi the knowledge, it helps you to the address the issues, because CISO will have a 360-degree of view. At the same time, you should have a controls on 360 of the protections. If you see my career, moreover I can say is I have designed my career, like where I should be in terms of the product, or in terms of sales, marketing, or in terms of architecting, whether it is service side or industry side or the product side. That's why we have acquired the knowledge. So different sectors where it helps you a lot of, which are the sectors where we can talk, where we can give the knowledge and, take it forward. It was a great journey. Of course, we'll continue the conversations and then, share you the experience, what we have, gained, and then what's the benefit the audience also can take it as a takeaway.
Thank you, Navnithan. Talking about cyber risk for corporates, today we have seen incidents being reported, even the most evolved and most mature organizations facing this difficulty, either in terms of a DDoS attack or a ransomware, or being vulnerable to such breaches. Even governments, city governments, and even countries being impacted by this. I hear that cybersecurity is a matter of culture within an organization. Even the maximum investment an organization has made in Indian terms, crores and crores in cybersecurity, still there is a breach or an attack. Ultimately, it boils down to how our team or associates would comply with or follow instructions given by the organization. Can it touch upon cybersecurity as a matter of culture?
Yeah. You touch security. Maybe at home also, what is the culture you bring your, the kids, that's the way they will go and shine up in outside the world, right? So that's the way the culture is a fundamental, maybe if you take the CISO will have the n number of the controls if you want to enforce.
Navnithan, your last sentence was broken. Can you repeat the last sentence, please? There was a audio disturbance.
Yeah. Now, what I was saying is, moreover, from end to end, if you take, any controls, if you want to implement, just you cannot take just ISO 27001 or PCDSS or SANS or CAS controls and then start implementing the technical way, right? If you take organizations, let us take we have 1 lakh people, maybe the best and then the worst case we can have around 50 to 60 people is as a cybersecurity guy. But really we can't go and protect all this 1 lakh people, right? Really we need a culture of maturity as well as culture evolve in terms of towards protection of the cybersecurity. Very simple example I can tell you, right? Maybe I can take some analogy and then I can come back to you. If you take this, we are going to have a two-wheeler bike ride on the road. The people will take a helmet. It's based on the area where they are navigating, right? If there is a cop sitting over there, the people wear the helmet. If there is no cop, the people will keep the helmet on the their own actually. Because here the risk, the people see as when a cop is standing over there, how do we avoid or how do we protect from him actually, not on the the accident and other things actually. So that's the way the culture brings a lot of attention from end to end. Because we may have a 1 lakh people of cybersecurity folks. Like let us take you have admin and then HR or maybe any other support functions. Really, we have to give a fee saying that what are the each and everyone has to be contribute from the cybersecurity. That help you a lot. That's one more example I can tell you. There are two set of organizations. One is the people will say there is no incident at all. That means that organization is very healthy. And the second one is there are a lot of incident. It's keep rising. That means like whether it is organization is healthy or not healthy. But absolutely the second scenario is the organization is very healthy, where the people are reporting more incident, where people are notifying the more malicious stuff. That means you have a very great controls where you have great enforcements across the organizations. So that's the way, the cultural fitment is very important. Wherever, from my journey, wherever I go, always I try to bring the cultural change, adopting in terms of incident, in terms of what are the things needs to be notified. That things needs to be uplifted. It should be embedded with your DNA. The security cultures. It should not see as a job. It should not see as it's a responsibility of a cybersecurity team or it's a responsibility of the CISO team. Really, we need a
Yeah, I can relate to that explanation, Navnithan. I used to work in the Philippines. What is very interesting in Philippines is every office that you visit, every employee in their table drawer, they used to have a toothbrush and toothpaste. So when they have a snack or they have coffee or tea, instantly they go to the toilet, the restroom, they brush their teeth and come back. To that extent, they maintain hygiene. I think I can compare that with the cyber risk also. If every day in our inbox, particularly I've seen when the week begins, Monday mornings, I get mail saying invoice attached or some lottery or saying somebody has got a £5 million fund, would you be interested? I think naturally employees should develop a level of alertness. It is not just identifying those kind of suspicious mails. As you say, it is also about notifying to the correct team that such mails have come. I made it a habit to escalate it to the security gentleman on my side that such a mail has come, would you want to check? So that's something that should come in as a matter of culture. Would you agree with that?
That's true. Absolutely. Now, in fact, it's reminded one more, the scenario. If you take this, the awareness, moreover, now the CEO or CFO, or maybe some extent CISO also target as from the external, the threat vectors. The people know they don't target on the all the CXOs. Always they target us on their executives, because their executives it's prone to attack, right? They may not have such awareness, as well as they will have this complete access of the complete CXO's email box also, as well as they know the entire agenda of those folks. So that standpoint, really we need to have the awareness. We need to bring the cultures not only on the CXO side, really at the bottom level, people also, which needs to be taken care. Because now what the phishing is happening is it's more of now it's moreover now it's happening on the targeted phishing. I can compromise any the new joiners. Once they get it, I can do the privilege escalations and then penetrate into the network. Once you penetrate into the networks, then I know that which are the common systems accessed by the CXOs. So that's why we need protections at the bottom to top, not only from top to the bottom.
Yeah, that's interesting. I, as a cyber risk broker, I used to always think the target for hackers are usually the CXOs or those with finance functions. Now I understand from you, even the new joinees are a right target for the hackers, because they may not be aware of the security that they should be following. I take that.
Yeah, in fact,
go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, if you see this, a couple of incident what we handle, which is related to the the cultural, which is related to the little bit on the phishing. Let us take the people who's maybe 1 year, 2 years experience, the person or maybe who's having the complete job hunting. He would have joined the organization, but still he will have the connect with in terms of job hunting firm, right? Or maybe in terms of any other firm who is providing the job, or maybe in either consultancy or whatever it is. So once he join, he will get an email on their official email box. So you don't have the difference saying that, right, whether it is a genuine one or it's maybe a genuine one, how it comes onto your official email ID. But they know that, right? They have a data saying that this person is joined. It's very simple, right? I know that with the LinkedIn, it will give you the brief inputs like where you joined, where you left, and then which are the area you like it. So based on that also, I can create your profile. I can shoot it to you saying that there is opportunity. It's easy to push it. So that's what the more prone to attack is the junior focus, as well as in terms of the executives.
Yeah. So the message to our participants, the first message that you would give is, please ensure new joinees, when they are given induction training, it is not just about your business or the other aspects of your work. It is also about cybersecurity. Is that your advice?
Absolutely, Arun. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now that's the way we are building the culture, right?
Yeah, correct. That will improve the security culture of the organization.
Yeah, on most of us, I'm not sure. That's one more company, the Shell. It's like 3 digits billion company. I got opportunity to work over there. It's very simple. They have a complete upstream, downstream plant in the oil reservoir, right? where they have a grill, while walking all the time, they will wear the helmet, and then always while walking, they hold it. But still they follow the things in the office.
Okay.
The bank, or maybe the Chennai, wherever you have the shell office, if you go there, you can see that the people holding the drill, maybe if you don't hold it, no, you will get a penalty. So
Okay.
even though it's like a 6-7 feet wide of staircase, it's like nobody's there, but still they want to do the practice, right?
Okay.
The same way people going to the industry, it will continue.
Right.
So that's why it's maybe the junior or senior, whoever it is on board, it should be 360 degree of the deployment of the awareness, and then it should be embedded with your culture. It should be embedded with your DNA. By default, the people should do it on what should do, what should not do. In fact, we have done the do's and don'ts. If you're on the cab, what you have to do. If you're on the lift, what you have to do. Once you get into the wireless access, what you have to do. Just very simple, do's and don'ts. Whatever you touch, if you're on the email, what you have to do is and don'ts. That's the way we do the bifurcations, and then it's a very simple tips where we give it to the the joiners.
Correct. I can, in COVID times, I can relate it to wearing mask and wearing gloves and wearing PPE, or cleaning your hand with disinfectant. It's as serious as this, that an employee should follow whatever security instructions are given by the organization, so that it is not just for the benefit of the individual, it's for the entire enterprise-wide IT infrastructure. I realize that. Now I'd like to ask you, Mr. Navneethan, our customers and also participants today are keen to know about one thing. Is it a sectoral thing? The general impression is cyber risk is mostly for banks and financial institutions, insurance companies, and pharmaceutical companies. Is it a grand exposure for only these organizations? What about hospitals, healthcare industry? What about hospitality, like hotel industry? We know a major breach in one of the international hotel chains. 500 million users' data, including passport numbers, have been taken off. That case became very famous. So how about the other sectors which are vulnerable and exposed to cyber risk? Can you explain about that? Are they relatively less exposed, or they're equally exposed? It's only an impression that we have.
Amazing. It's a great question. So, like most of the people will have that in mind, like only what are the exploits, what are the breach, it's happening. It's only on the BFS sectors, why not in other sectors? It's ultimately the hacker have a different mindset. One is where you want to bring down the counterpart reputation risk. That's the one thing. Second one is really they wanted to target in terms of in terms of financial theft, where they wanted to gain the benefit. That's a wing. And third one is they wanted to stop your operations. Whatever you're supposed to do, that they wanted to stop your operation. So among these three category, which one is coming to the picture? So all three comes into the the financial sectors. Because the money flow on the wire, right? All the the money, it's on zeros and ones on the wire. It's easy to tap and then easy to get things you wanted to take it up. So if you see this BFS sectors, if you take it earlier, just 5 years back, it may not be much targeted, because most of the time the people do the robbery, right? The people get into the bank, or people do the pickpocket in terms of to steal the money. Now it's very simple, right? There's no there is no separate APT, like advanced persistence threats, so that they have pure focus to attack in terms of which kind of bank or which kind of insurance sectors that they wanted to steal that. It's evolving across the country. It's evolving across the world. But however, the BFS sector is more prone to attack, as well as it's easy to steal, target, whatever it is. Second point is, moreover, it's just like internetly connected, right? Now, if you see this recent incident, whatever it has happened, as you maybe I can disclose the name, Marriott Hotel. As you mentioned, it's like a 500 million database. Out of the investigation, they have come to the 385 millions of users. The credit card, as well as their the complete history of the stay, their personal details, it has been leaked.
I think they had
nobody thought it's
also.
like
they had a second incident also, right?
Subsequent, yeah, correct. True. So, but however, even though it is the big, the hospitality or the hotel industries, got into the things. Always the people, folks, where they have money, but it's not the case, right? Where, if you know that the Facebook also got hacked, Microsoft also hacked actually, because couple of people it is a reputation, couple of people it is directly we are touching on the money. So that standpoint, now wherever the internet is well connected, those areas the penetrating, and things are moving, but it's a low hanging fruit is BFS sectors straight away, where we can get into that and then take the money. As well as now, if you see the India as well as a global, it's a completely on the digital, so everything connected, right?
Yeah.
Earlier, if you want to do the transaction on the bank, you have to take off. You might be aware, 20 years back, if you want to go to bank, I have to take off day leave, and then I have to be in a queue, I have to take a challan and so all the things. Now just just one ship of water, I can do the 1 lakh of transaction, or just multi-million transaction where I'm sitting. It may not require the multiple stuff. So that's the way technologies they evolve. The technology is really moving at the same level. Threat landscapes also it's getting increased.
Yeah, so I understand this is quite widespread. People used to discuss about hacking of devices. Hacking automobiles has become old story. Just a few weeks back, I read even ventilators in COVID hospitals are hacked or even triggered to have a sort of a fire or explosion. It can be initiated by a cyber attack. And just yesterday, I read about a coffee machine being hacked. Can it get to this extent?
Yeah. No, this is a two-way, right? One is if you take this overall systems, we are getting into the IoT mode actually. IoT is, it's not any special device, right? It's absolutely wherever you have internet, wherever you have the automations that's connected. It's maybe your mobile also one of the device, your laptop's also one of the device, your brush also one of the device, your shoes also one of the device. Ultimately, each one will have a separate mechanisms. Let us take your toothbrush. Toothbrush can give what you have eaten, what you have your diet behaviors, and then what it is digesting fast, what may not be that, and it gives you the entire history, and then how healthy your complete teeth, and then what are the things you should take it up. So that kind of way, right? If you hack it, I know that your complete history of your teeth, whatever it is, and then similarly on the your TV. And then maybe very simple example I want to tell you. You have Alexa speakers, or you have a mobile. Always we think, third party, nobody can view what's happening on our house, right? It's very simple now. You have your mobile. If I switch on your mobile, it's all the time, your camera is on all the time, your devices, internet is on. So I can fetch whatever it's happening on their house. So knowingly, unknowingly, moreover, we have, other persons, we are living with them actually. Without knowing them, without knowing us, of course, they are also taking the data, because really we are not sure how many of you know what are the smart mobile we have. It's the entire effective equalizations. How many of you knows? Even as a CISO, we don't know what are the backend data it is moving from your mobile, right? So that's what it on the different dimensions. It's a really the entire world is well connected, so things are moving in the earlier, if you see, most of the things only the security experts needs to be aware of so and so things. Now the end user has to be aware of certain things, like what has to do in terms of what are the things they handle.
Tell me, Mr. Nanithan, maybe 2-3 decades ago, people used to talk about a virus, nothing beyond that. And corporates being affected by it was not such a serious risk exposure. We are still on the topic of risk. How has malware evolved over the years? And what kind of impact they are having on corporate entities?
Yeah.
The evolution of the malware.
Yeah. No, amazing. Earlier, if you see this 10 to 15 years back, where we used to talk about only on the virus, right? Apart from this word, we don't know anything.
There's no other word.
Yeah, antivirus and then virus. Now we have many steps, right? The people will talk about the botnets, the people will talk about complete threat landscapes, people talk about the malware, people talk about this complete, the identity theft. So ultimately, what are the possibilities where we can do it, where we can get it? Just I'll share you small, the screen. It will help you, where we have taken.
Nothing. You're able to share screen?
I think you have to allow me. to have
I made you host.
great.
Can you try now?
Yeah, that's great. So this is just 1 year overall things from 18 to
Wow.
19, like where the evaluation is happening, from end to end. If you take this malware was there actually, but 2000 the 19 also, it's absolutely on the the same sectors. Similarly, on the web-based attacks also, now it's mostly on the applications based, right? Earlier, if you see this, a website is just to see the information, so not to exchange, right? But now all the applications, it's hosted on the website, and then where we can have interactions, where we can buy, sell, everything on that, because after e-commerce came into the pictures. So that's the way, the web-based attack is well known, where I can do a number of stuff. So like where we have top 10 WAFs, it talks about the top 10 attacks in terms of SQL injections or man-in-the-middle attacks. Similarly, we have well-defined attacks on the web-based itself. So similarly, the each places in terms of the web-based attack, web application-based attacks, and then maybe DOS attacks, it's based on the device, it's keep moving. But ultimate things is, the phishing and the DOS, as well as, identity theft is really, it's going up when compared to the, the earlier to now. It's a little bit new, but however, it is going on the, the upper side.
Okay. But tell me, Ms. Navneethan, how are Indian corporates or MNCs in India who are operating in India, how are they adapting to this new kinds of risk? How are they able to identify the threats and classify them, and what kind of action they are taking? Can you share some insight into that?
Yeah. This is a multiple dimensions, right? It's really the great questions in terms of how the Indian sector is really taking, and then how we are addressing it is very important. Still, if you see in terms of the antivirus, the people will go for this antivirus. Very less people really, they get into the EDR, right? The endpoint detections and then response. What it does is it's just not on the signature based. The people always, the antivirus will have a signature based. If there is a attack somewhere, it's happened, the respective vendor or respective OEM, they will add the database. From there, they will get reflected over there actually. But in terms of the EDR, it's based on the behaviors. Really, we are not sure, which system file who is infecting, and then how the system is behaving, and then how the data is transferring out. Based on the behaviors where they, act, and then they work on that. Most of the people, if you take this, the endpoint itself, the people are getting to the EDR because it just based on the behavior, it detect, and then it respond, and then it act, the quickly as is possible. So that's the endpoint. This adoption rate is a little bit higher when compared to the other regions. The things are moving in positively, but of course, affordably also it's a matter over there, right? In terms of the antivirus, having antivirus in your laptop, having EDR in your laptop, it's a little bit cost-wise, it's different in terms of a little bit complexity over there. So that's the endpoint. Affordability is one case, but second case is in terms of adoption of how we can detect and then prevent it is really going high.
Is there no open source equivalent of virus where people don't have to spend money and then still have some kind of protection? I'm talking about the micro sector. There's only one promoter. He can't afford to invest millions of rupees on budget. Is there no open source or some kind of a free antivirus solution for smaller business entities?
Yeah, it's a great one. The people always allowed to have a free, right? But the people used to say that nothing is free on that.
Okay.
If you take this open source, there are the many open source tools are available, but not on the antivirus. It's not so great actually. The people say this, it can be that, but it may not be 100% so the prevention is more. Even in fact, for any detections and response also, we don't deploy the open source because it has all the pros and cons, right? It has limitations. Whoever it is trying to detect it, whoever is trying to develop it, they have either financial posture, or they have a financial expectations. But there are low pricing or the low costing tools are available, which can be opted for the respective organization. It may not require to invest in terms of millions and billions.
So do you mean the SaaS equivalent of virus applications?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to.
That is software as a solution.
Exactly. So earlier, even in fact, a couple of vendors they are providing. Like you are the small customers, you are not the enterprise. You may not have in terms of lakhs or thousands of people, but you have 1 or 2 or 1 to 10 people. Still, you can go ahead and then buy the solutions and then get things done. It may not require separate administrator. It may not require separate architect. Ultimately, just to give the requirement, they come and deploy, and they take care of the overall response. So that things it's available. Only thing is lack of awareness on the market, like who are the vendor provide such a stuff, and then what is the cost. Always we see that he's a giant, and then really we are not sure what is the costing model they have it. But there are many vendors on the cloud. If you take just 5 to 10 years back, you wanted to bring the data center. I still remember that we have to buy the Dell servers from the Singapore. It takes to 40 days, to bring down the server alone. But now the server, different, right? If you want to buy the server, it's like fraction of a minute. Get it to the the cloud, and then what are the RAM, what are the CPU you have it just on the dynamic way where you can onboard and then take it forward. So that's one point where we have for the single users as well as small enterprise. So there are a lot of mechanisms which is available.
So for our micro sector or SME participants today, the message is you don't have to invest extraordinarily into cyber security. You can use this cloud solutions or SaaS solutions and possibly reduce your cost extensively. Is that correct?
No, absolutely right. Actually, I mean there are many service provider that's purely for the micro segment. They are providing.
Okay.
I'm not only on the antivirus I'm talking about your entire network monitoring, your entire overall threat prevention or threat intelligence or threat feed. Actually, you may have insurance sectors, but the insurance sectors, whatever the threats which is forming on the other the country or other industry, it will come and reflect to you. It will alert you. Because you also have the same kind of vulnerabilities. So, you have to put these other controls to block this kind of things. So the threat feed, it's available in the open market.
Okay. Thank you for that information, Ms. Navneethan. I've heard this term frequently mentioned when I meet customers and discuss cybersecurity, just to understand what is their current thought process. There is a mention about vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, VAPT. I understand that's a exercise you do to identify any exposures or particular vulnerability and identify which part of your business is exposed. My question to you, Ms. Navneethan, is if you take SME sector, I'm not even talking about mid-cap, large anyway has got money to spend. In the SME sector, how many out of 10 would be doing a VAPT at least once a year? Can you hear? Did you hear the question, Mr. Navneethan?
No. Yeah, could you please come again?
Yeah, my question is, when it comes to spending money on cyber risk, cyber security, we were discussing about the affordability part of it. And according to our thinking, we are advisors to large corporates, mid-cap, SME and micro customers also. So the risk is identical, risk is same for everybody. The magnitude could differ, but the worry is the same for everybody. My question is, I've heard about this exercise called VAPT, Vulnerability Assessment and Penetration Testing, is an exercise to identify the cyber exposure or the weaknesses in the system. Talking of SMEs, how many SMEs out of 10 would be doing a VAPT at least once a year? And what is your advice? Once a year is okay for them, or they should do twice a year, they should do every quarter? What should be the frequency for an SME?
Yeah, no, very interesting, Arun. I'm not sure how you're bringing the real-time questions as well as what the people are facing on the ground. This is some major discussions. Of course, the close to a year back, where I was discussing with the Rajesh Pant, he's a national security advisor of India. It's a two-way, right? One is if you are the PCI-DSS certified, the people insist quarterly once where you have to do the vulnerability assessment. And in terms of other way, really, they wanted to have it as soon as possible if there is a new asset being added to the your the environment. Second possibilities. But from my own standpoint, I have two wings. One is on the compliance. On the PCDSS, what is exactly it's insisting, how frequently you want to do that. That's the one way. Second one is vulnerabilities is continuous. Always, when I was in a Deloitte, we used to give the report saying that this vulnerability is on so-and-so date and time. There is a next minute, there is a breach. No, this organization is not responsible. You got the logic, right? The
Yeah.
vulnerabilities is minutes and minutes, it's changed. So how we bring this vulnerability, what is the frequencies? It's a two-way. One is it should be an ongoing basis. That's no in the second thought. Whether we have to do that every day? No, may not required. We should bring out saying that if there is a change in the organization, that's always I connect change management, incident management, as well as your overall activity is well connected. If there is a change, by default, it should initiate for the the respective organization to the VAPT. It's maybe the application, it may be the process, or a very simple example. You have overall applications. You have onboarded one more client, or you have onboarded one more vendor. You have to go through the VAPT because there is a change. You would have given the credential. We are not sure how the gateway is open it at the back end. So always, from my standpoint, always I do the continuous in the process. And then the continuous process, it may not be every day. As and when there is a change in the organizations, it may be a process, or it may be a technology, or addition or deletion of assets also, where we involve the cyber security folks to do the VAPT. Second one is, for the small and medium industry, it may not require to have the full-time employees, where you can hire a SME as a freelancing, where you can have a trusted folks. There are many forums which is available on the freelancing, where they can help you do the assessment. It's for them, it's a catwalk, right? It's like every day how you do the insurance, how you can guide that people. Similarly, for them, it's a catwalk. Overnight just finish, and that they can help you to move ahead. So that standpoint, really it should be the continuous. And again, for the small and medium sectors, they can hire freelancers. It's a trusted freelancers which is available on the forum where we can take and we can forget about overall those issues.
I have a question from a participant, Mr. Navneethan. Mr. Cheryl Jose would like to know from you. There's a general question for which may need a response from you. What kind of technologies you recommend to prevent breaches? If in a simple way, you can explain. You can kindly do that. The second question from him is, how secure are open source solutions? The first question is, what kind of technology would you advise to prevent breaches? I think it may take hours for you to explain, but in a few minutes, if you can share with Mr. Cheryl Jose. The second question is, how secure are open source solutions?
Great, amazing question. The first one really, as a layman, really, I wanted to know, how do we, protect, or how do we detect what are the incidents happening? From the CISO standpoint, always we'll have a 360-degree view, right? We focus multiple sectors. As I told, we focus on the client, who has onboarded. We focus on the vendor who has onboarded. We focus on, who are the employees who is sitting who are in the organizations, how it has been taken care. In terms of always, I go with a multi-layer approach. Always we go with, first you wanted to protect your data, right? The data is the fundamental which add a lot of value, because that's what most of the business is happening, right? Now, the Amazon or maybe the Flipkart, or it's maybe in terms of the Facebook, Reliance, all the deal, what are the deal it's happened in the last 4 or 5 months, it's purely on the data, right? So the data is the foremost one which needs to be taken care. So really where we have to focus on the data flow, back to where the data is originating, where the data is going to end. So where we have to focus on the data protection, so like on the data level, whether it is on the storage, on the transit, or in the usage, like what other things needs to be taken care. So that will give a lot of sense on the data level. The next one is in terms of application layer, in terms of what are the applications you handle, how it is protected, how it has been taken care. Third one is in terms of the endpoint, like what are the servers you have, what are the desktops, laptops you have, how it has been protected. And then fourth one is your infrastructure. Fifth one is in terms of your policy, process, guidelines, and standards. So this 360-degree the approach will help you a lot to take it forward. So not only the technology, right? There are a lot of process also which is very simple things. You want to maintain the access control. Do we need really the separate technology? It may not, right? If you have access control, really we want to have it, how many assets you have in your organization. If you take a question, it's very simple. How many people know that? How many assets we have in our network? How many of you having access what level? How many vendors have access to our environment? How many clients have access to our environment? Really, we don't have a snapshot of those things, right? So really, we have to enforce the control. We have to keep it things very simple and clear on the layer. What are the 5 layers I have described, and then how we can enforce the control effectively will help you a lot. So I believe I have answers and justified on the the first questions. Second, very interesting questions. Open source, yes. Open source has limitations, right? Open source can be used and can be at the development purpose, or you can use it for the commercial until unless you add to the the community, right? Otherwise, you have some limitations over the on the open source side actually.
Right.
Open source always may not have a complete. It's based on the product. Like more of the security product, we don't suggest. Say if let us take a Java. Java is open source for the development of the the product, right? It can be used. But as a security product, you can do the experiment, you can do a lot of stuff, but you cannot give a connectivity to your Crown Jewel account, or you can't give the connectivity to your Crown Jewel data, right? So really, we are not sure how the code is written. It's maybe the hard coded, right? So that standpoint, really, we need a lot of attention. So where you're going to use open source. Open source can be used, but really we have to look where and how it's being used. Also, it's very important.
Thanks, Navneet. There's a question which I wanted to ask, but fortunately one of the participants has asked very, very important question, which is very relevant today. When it comes to patch management, currently during COVID times, how are we able to ensure patch management is done fully compliant? And your insight as a cybersecurity expert, what kind of challenges will be there in remote patching on time? One is doing it remotely and doing it in time before we have an exposure. Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, it's a really exciting question. So, it's a right time, right? On the COVID situation, so none of the people close to organizations, everybody is...
This question is from Mr. Satish Kumar Rajendran.
Great, Satish. Really, it's amazing questions, right? It's on the practical, on the ground. Right now, we are facing on the end-to-end. It's a two-way, right? One is if you are the organization. Let's forget about the COVID situations. We are in the organization. Once Microsoft or any vendor they release the complete patches, how soon we patch it also, it's very important, right? Always the people will take it's a critical application, so take 3 months, 6 months, and then 1 year the things will be keep going there actually. That is on the normal situation. Normal situation itself, it takes 3 to 6 months to patch the environment. Now things are absolutely different. I have seen many people, they have disabled the in terms of the password expiry also. So the organization, they say that it's like minimum 90 days once you have to do the password rotations. Due to the COVID situation, they couldn't sync your Active Directory as well as your complete the laptop. They have disabled the policy itself. So what are the 90 days password? It's not going to expire. So similarly, the people have distributed the laptop, not only the laptop, the desktops also in terms of the product environment. They have given desktops also to the the home. So how the desktop is well protected. So in terms of the patch management, it's a really the bigger challenges where we need a lot of attention from the end to end, and where we have a lot of mechanisms now actually in terms of the NAC or in terms of a couple of other mechanisms which ensure that whenever there's a patch released, it may not require to authenticate to your Active Directory. It directly can be pushed to the your laptops, or directly can be pushed to the servers. But the only thing is you have to approve saying that yes, these are things can be the patched over there, because sometimes it may stop your the day-to-day operations, right? So that standpoint, its automatic tools are available. There are so many. In fact, the FI also providing a lot of tools and technologies where they can automate. They can suggest you like what are the patches we needed for your environment. Let us take, you may have a Cisco routers, or maybe your different servers, or maybe different applications. You can give a coordinations and then put it on the threat intelligence. It suggests you like it may not require to go through thousands of threat feeds and then understand which one is applicable for you, which one may not be applicable. No, it gives a custom feed saying that for your environment, these are the patches are available. This is a critical, this is may not be critical. Go ahead and then deploy with them, which is available on the the open market. Now FI and then Citrix also, they come out with different great product who takes care of the the endpoint systems.
Wonderful. I have a very important question to ask Navneethan. When I meet customers as an insurance broker or risk advisor, especially talking about cyber risk, I always ask them which part of your business is exposed to cloud. There's a customer whom I meet who tells me that my SAP is on cloud. We use cloud for our SAP. Then our billing software, we have 500 outlets. Our billing software is also on the cloud. Even our user files like a Word document or Excel sheet, accounting, everything is on Google Drive. He says buying cyber insurance is redundant for me. If a hacker comes in, there's nothing that I have. Everything is on the cloud. So my risk is zero. But my response to him is your risk is not zero. It is 100% because somebody gets a login credentials of all these cloud-based applications that you got. Then he becomes you. Overnight, he takes control. So tell me, Mr. Navneethan, is the customer right or am I right? Using cloud, is the risk zero or is it 100%?
There's no second thought. You well said. It's absolutely it lies with the customer. The 100% accountability is. I'm not sure. That's a perception. That is a myth. It's going on. Some industry, some level. They take care of operation, not security. If you want to run, because of course, as you know that the cloud also have a multiple sectors, whether you want to do the SaaS or PaaS or infrastructures as a services, right? Infrastructure services, they give your hardware, like whatever you wanted to have it, just they can give a hardware as well as the basic operating system.
Yeah.
And the platform as a service, they give applications. You can customize, you can build whatever you want to do that. That's the thing. The SaaS is nothing is required. Only you can feed your data. Application is ready, just you can feed that, right? Yeah. So all three will have as different classes in terms of it's a shared responsibility. What level we hold the accountability? What are the levels you have to take it at? As you rightly pointed out, in terms of access control, it's a very simple fundamental stuff. You have everything is with them, but the password is hacked of admin of cloud environment. Then we are into different situations, right? So that standpoint, accountability is, moreover, I can see it's a shared responsibility, but really we have to look, we should not have assumption like this has been taken care by the cloud environment, may not be by other things. Second point is a lot of misconfigurations on the cloud, even though its accountability is with you, or maybe accountabilities or responsibilities, with you, the misconfiguration of the servers, right? It's like if you want to now, you want to start, the 10 missions. Just 1 minute you can go and click 10 machines with what are the CPU, what is the RAM where you wanted to make it up and running. But what are the ports it's open? What are the gateway in between the two machines it is open? Because it is a shared the multi-tenant environment, right? It's the same apartment. It's very simple, right? It's the same apartment. If you don't take care of your door, then it's a different case, right? So that's your responsibility to take care of your door and then your windows to protect your environment. But absolutely, as a gated community, apartment associations will take care of certain responsibility. But you have the complete responsibility and accountability to protect your assets.
Wonderful comparison, Navneet.
Yeah, because there are many things incident. It's purely on the misconfigurations. In terms of assets, very simple things like there is a routers and then switches over there, where we can open most of the ports between the two devices, or we can open the ports from the external to internal, internal to external. Most of the time, I have seen the incident, it's open as all. They open for all because they try to establish the communications externally, but it may not happen. They open all. Yeah. That's more than enough, to take this complete data over there.
Okay, the next topic is absolutely important for corporates in the current circumstances. As a keen observer of what's happening on cyber risk, I've read about instances where city government in USA is held to ransom. Hospitals were compelled to pay up money because their systems are taken over by a hacker. So we can't discuss cyber risk without discussing ransomware. What are your thoughts on ransomware and how Indian corporates should prepare themselves? Right from the issue of awareness about what is ransomware to the extent of what can happen to their business when a ransomware attack happens. Tell us something about it.
That's great actually. I mean, most of the places now we are seeing, the ransomware attack. Specifically, I can talk about very recent things is with the Cognizant, right? The
Yeah.
massive ransomware attack. It's more of it's a little bit different. If you see this earlier ransomware, we have a different concept. The ransomware is purely, they get into your environment, they lock it, they lock, and then they keep the key with them. Actually, once you pay this ransomware amount to them, then it takes you, give the key, and then you can unlock and do it the way you want it. That is a basic fundamental of the ransomware. It's like WannaCry, it's a very the different one which was happen actually, and then CyberPrep, Bad Rapid. It's many ransomware attack which has happened, but they are very genuine. What is the define for the ransomware? That's what they have done it. Like they lock your complete your database, which is you can't access, or you can't. Let us take you have a bank, and then this bank you have a close to 10 million customers. Everybody's having the bigger amount. Some people have very small amount. You have all the database, everything, name is there, addresses are, everything is there, but only the amount is, let us take a locked. As a bank, you have a multi-million or multi-billion, the bank where you have millions of people, all the databases, everything is interacting, you are able to see that, but you are not able to see the amount, what they are holding in your bank. Think about the situation. No other way, right? I mean, the bank has to, make the payment. Because some places the people will have a 1 rupee, some people they will have a lakh, some people will have in terms of millions. That standpoint, it was just locked and then kept the key. That's what it is of the trend.
So that could be one of the worst case scenarios for a bank.
Yeah. So that's what the people will say, right? We used to say that at least 1 to 2% of your annual revenue, which has to be spent for IT as well as the cyber. Now that's a minimum expectations that people will have. At least you can protect yourself, right? It should not be a later stage if any breaches happen. That time we have to spend more than that, because we have to reissue the card, we have to reestablish the entire stuff. For the scenario, whatever I have told, your complete amount is locked, then we are into very dead situation. Specific to Cognizant, what was happened is it's a mass the ransomware attack. It's a close to 50 to 70 million. So the loss it was happened for the Cognizant. For them, what has happened is it's not only on the locking of the entire database. What they have done is they have released on the dark web. Okay. They have told if you don't pay, I will release. But usually the ransomware, they don't do the threading off in terms of the breach and other stuff. Always they lock. If they don't pay, they will leave it. That's it. You can't access those information. So what's happening with the ransomware recent attack is they have the VMware. Now we have a lot of cloud environment, right? Yeah. Our organization now they are doing. Of course, we hear a lot of ransomware attack, but what they do is it's like virtual servers, right, on the cloud. They bring down their server, they make it up, other servers. If it is not reflected on the, applications, if it is not reflected on your, the database. So that's about, you have to play the strategy. First one is you have to put a prevent control. You should have a detective control. At the same time, you should have alternative controls also, saying that if anything happen, how do we, bring down the, the overall systems.
Okay. One more important area of discussion today among customers and cyber risk practitioners like me is vulnerability for manufacturing systems or industrial control systems or digital control systems. As you know, as all of us know, that industries today are automated extensively. If you have automobile manufacturers, they use industrial robots for their welding and cutting and hazardous operations like paint booth. Of course, chemical industry is using digital control technology in a big way. Every other or even PLC-based systems. What is the risk exposure today for manufacturing companies? Is it real? We have read the cases like ThyssenKrupp or Hydronosk, where the hacker took control of the entire manufacturing operation. How real is this risk for Indian corporates?
This is two-way, right? One is...
I have to add one more line there, Namrita, so excuse me for that. I hear from the IT heads of companies, manufacturing companies, that our manufacturing side is completely insulated. It is not connected to internet. There's no way there can be a breach. Is a usual posture taken by the IT heads of companies. So how do I convince them, or is it real? Is it correct for me to tell them, no, sir, your manufacturing side also can be compromised? Is my advice right?
Yeah, absolutely, Arun. You well said, actually. This is maybe first I'll answer the first one. Second, definitely we'll line up. This is not only on the any specific sectors. It's most of the production environment it's happening. It's maybe the nuclear or maybe electric, grid or dams or gas pipeline, or maybe water. What are the water, the facility, whatever it is pumping water, or maybe overall industrial environment, or to smart cities. Whatever you take, which is operating with the sensors. Earlier, if you see only the PLC, on the next layer we have ICS, SCADA. That's about it is integrated. So now we are connecting to the OT and then IoT. See, most of the elements, it's well connected, right? What the IT people mindset will have is, if you don't directly connect it to the internet, if you don't directly involve on the layer 7, we used to take it as a TCP layer, where we do the communications on the wire, or where we do the communications on the internet. The people will think always wherever the layer 7 is connected, only though it is exposed to the internet, only that can be hacked. That's not a case. But really we can take from the layer 1, the physical layer onwards, where we can take a control of your systems. Physically, it's not secure. And the second one is you don't play the access control, where you don't have the much visibility on the layer, transport layer, from where the data is collecting. Let us take there is a sensor, it is collecting the data, sending to the respective applications. In between, I can hack it, right? So it's may not required, it may be on the applications layer. It's absolutely on the any layer, it can be cracked. The next one is now the user experience. Like if you take the payment gateway, just one deviation I can take it. The payment gateway, the people will ask, once I click on the product, if you want to make a payment, one click, I have to do the payment. It should not ask for my credit card. It should not ask for my debit card. It should not ask for my credentials and all things. But it will store on the card, right? So it's a convenience and security. Some extent needs to be balanced. The people need the experience. Think that one seconds, just click the product, click that pay, and then the payment has to be released.
Yeah, in one particular portal, it is one swipe.
One
I just
swipe,
I bought it.
Absolutely, that's the experience, right? But the back end, how it's swiped, because already the portal will have all the credential.
Correct.
If the organization has got into any breach or exploit, so your data is gone. You got it, right? So the same way, if you see the IoT and then OT, it's a lot of user convenience, automations. It's keep evolving. It's more than 20 billion devices. It's well connected. So that standpoint, the last week, one of the sessions where I have taken control of other country. I don't want to disclose the country name, where I have taken the control of other country, CCTV.
Okay.
It's a very simple, logic where we have done that, where we are able to take the control of, the CCTV, right? It's like a CCTV, of course, it's internet connected, but it's operate on the, the lower layer. It may not have a separate, the applications layer over there. So that's a way, it's well connected, because multiple vendor coming to the pictures, and then multiple devices, it's come, they're playing the role. That's what, if you take IoT, OT, still we have a lot of, standardization issues from end to end, because lack of vulnerabilities, lack of standardization, lack of benchmarks, which is lying over there actually.
Okay. We're just almost at the end of the session. Just one or two more questions, Navneethan. But I can't close the session without talking about this. Europe has adopted GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulations. India could be following when the Data Privacy Act or Data Protection Act comes into it's a bill in the Rajya Sabha. It's been possibly referred to a select committee. How important is data protection for Indian corporates? If the bill becomes act, how serious should they be about the privacy of data relating to employees, about vendors and retail customers? How severe it's going to get if the act really comes?
Great, Arun.
Or can they take it easy?
Yeah, maybe, or may not be. I can say that it's a two-way. Maybe I can compare. If you take a European or maybe the US, maybe since we touched on the GDPR, where I can take that European itself, they have the previous version of data protection. It may not be directly they got into the the GDPR, right? If you take our Indian sync, they have only the IT Act. IT Act also just only the one class which talks about how we needs to be protected, not in the elaborated way actually. If you take a European and then India, European will have a little bit of the different cultures, like where you can't open forum, you can't ask like whether you are male or female. We cannot ask which regions you are belongs to that, or which origin, or which the political things you like it. It's like openly we can ask. That's a breach. They can on the court of law. But in India, from the cultural standpoint, I'm talking first of all.
Yeah.
Cultural standpoint, while traveling on the bus, we're traveling on the the train, or maybe we meet in the queue. Just I'm telling the bank queue we are meeting. Just 2 minutes if you stand, also we exchange a lot of stuff. Where I work, where I we go through a lot of stuff. And then second one is in terms of adoption of overall data protections, it takes a lot of time as an end user level. But why we need to bring this lot of stuff is it's a business, right? It's a corporate level. Really, we need a data protections. Otherwise, it should be a different the environment. Like anyone can buy, anyone can sell who the data it is required. Because that's what the if you see the current Facebook, it's like Facebook and Reliance. It's an absolute relationship on the data, right?
Yeah.
Options over there actually. So that standpoint for the corporate, the data protection bill, whatever it is going to be act, it's a purely on the the corporate side. Very much is required, but in terms of end users, it takes a lot of time because the way we brought our cultures, the way we live, it's a little bit different than the European. So it has two different dimensions. I think it adds a lot of value from the corporate side.
Thank you so much, Navaneet. Then we have covered a lot of areas. We spoke about your experience in the security industry. We spoke about what kind of sectors are to be seen as vulnerable to cyber risk. We've spoken about very important areas like open source and then protection, patch management. We also spoken about ransomware and what kind of safeguard corporate should have. As a CISO, what's your general advice to our participants today, who may be comprised of SMEs, mid-cap and large corporates, the general advice on cyber security or information security today?
Amazing. Moreover, from the CISO standpoint, I can say now we are in the situation, so not only to protect the organization, we have to protect the employee house internet also.
Okay.
Those things, it's very important. Maybe I have done the demonstrations in our apartment. It's one of the CIO laptop where we are able to access, and then we are able to penetrate into their office network. Because if you see, maybe it's a live, you can go and see, post your discussion. If you have a wireless access point routers, it's maybe Airtel or Vodafone or maybe Reliance, whatever it is. On the bottom, you can see the username password. It may be admin 123. Or that's a default one because nobody knows it, right? Even though we are SME, we don't touch because the third party guy who comes and install the routers and then they go away with the default password. With the default password, everybody knows that. With that, they can access your wireless access routers and then they can see the SSID. Once they are part of your SSID, your laptop and their laptops can talk each other. It's a common network. What are the share folders you have it? Through that, I can execute a command. From there, I can penetrate into your network. So that standpoint, the first one is really, as a CISO, as a security guy, really we have to extend our hand, not only protections your organization, really we have to work on protecting the employee home internet, security also. Second one is, now most of the things it's coming to the API security, right? So if you want to talk about this, I have a very lengthy list, but however I'll highlight on which is very significant and then important. The API security. Now earlier, if you want to touch any database where we go through a lot of applications exchanging, or we have to physically go there and then fetch it. Now it's a simple API. If you want to access your complete the billion users data, I can write one API. I can pull this, the complete information to my data.
How do you expand API? What is API?
Application programming. Yeah, application programming interface.
Okay.
Small application.
Okay.
It is a small applications where whether you have a complete database. I want to have a complete the database actually. You have billions of users. Let us say that's what happened with Facebook and then one of the the other backend vendor, right? If you want access, where I will give a username password where you agree to that access in your database. Once you connected, then I can exchange the data between you and me actually. Then you don't have a control saying that what I'm accessing, what I'm doing, because already you have given access over there. So really the API needs a lot of protections because the API where we share the key, the API key is very important. Once the key is compromised, even I can see this data, whatever you have given permission to the respective person. So second one is it's a complete API security where we need a lot of attention. Third one is really we need the awareness level. We have to uplift awareness into the different level. That's very much is required across the organizations from end to end. It's maybe a security incident or it may be malicious activity or anything which is related to the cyber. They should be able to notify. The fourth one is really focus on 360-degree the view. Don't work on a very short term, just only for the laptop or only for the servers or only for the routers, only for the switches. Just have a complete, just have a holistic view, a helicopter view, and then see that what are the elements it's over there and what are things that should be taken care. That will help you, the lot. It's very simple, right? We have a lot of controls. I can see that CIS control, CIS, which will give a very brief 20, the major controls. It's
okay.
Amazing one. That's a high trust, 9.7. It gives amazing controls. We have a number of control standards and benchmarks which is available. Only thing is we have to start deploying them. It's a very simple analogy. I can say that, right? If you want to be, you do the yoga, you do the meditations, you sleep early, get up early, and you drink more water. You have healthy food. Actually, you have more fruits, more vegetables. It's good to have it, right? We know that with some things it's good to live healthy as well as long. So we have a system defined, but only thing is how we adapt, how we enforce the controls is very important. So that's a way of, we have a lot of controls. Of course, I'm happy to support in offline. If anybody need any benchmarks or standards, whether it's a small organizations or the medium level organization or the bigger way, definitely we can, take it forward.
We are very happy to partner with you, Navneethan. There's a line of compliment for you from Mr. Jagan Mohan Rao. He's from an IT and ITS company, software development and IT services. He has mentioned that you're pointing out router's default ID and password is a very apt advice that one should take time to make sure the password is made as difficult for anybody who wants to access. Thank you, Mr. Jagan Mohan Rao. So, Navneethan, it's been a wonderful 1 hour discussing with you so many aspects. We have only scratched the surface. Cybersecurity or IT security is a very vast field, I understand. Possibly in sessions in future, we will continue to talk about risk, particularly cyber risk. Possibly with your help, we'll talk more about areas like vulnerability to industrial control system, as many customers we have are in the manufacturing side. And definitely we should have a session separately on ransomware, where it's going and what is happening now, and what Indian corporations should be doing about how they should prepare themselves for a ransomware attack. Sometimes organizations are caught in a situation where they're unable to decide which direction to go, what to do. They're not prepared even for the incident to happen. So I'm sure Navneethan, as a knowledge expert, we'll be able to partner with you and then share more with our customers and prospects. It's been a wonderful 1 hour. I sincerely thank you on behalf of Bharat3, being a large insurance broker, in carrying out our intention of sharing knowledge and inputs to our customers and prospects on various risk elements. We'll be following this session with similar fireside chats on risk of every other nature. For example, a project management expert talking about a project risk, or a safety and risk management expert talking about industrial safety and risk or incident that can happen. I'm very happy. I'm personally, selfishly happy that the session started with a topic on cyber risk, which is a subject closer to my heart. Very happy to have you today, Navnithan. Thank you for this 1 hour. Your closing remarks, Navnithan.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Even it's my pleasure. I didn't realize it's like 1 hour, 15 minutes. It's supposed to. It's like moreover where we had a casual chat, but moreover you extracted my knowledge and my experience the way we wanted. But really, as you rightly told, we have a many domains. Like in terms of cybersecurity do's and don'ts itself, I run for 2 hours.
Yeah.
The different corporate, as well as the industry where we want to give it. As you rightly mentioned, the ransomware we can have a separate, and the ICS where we can have it, the separate, where we can enforce in-depth knowledge, like what exactly they have to take care from their side. Always everything is there in the world. It's the only thing is where we have to pick up and then enforce the way we wanted to do it in the effective way.
Thank you, Navnithan.
Yeah, great audience.
So,
thank you so much.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you for this last 1 hour and 15 minutes. Thank you for sparing time. Please look out for our future sessions on Bharat3 Speak series, where there will be fireside chats with experts similar to Ms. Navnithan, talking to you about a specific area of risk and then discussing more. We welcome you to come back and attend those sessions. Until our next sessions, goodbye from Arunachalam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.